Welcome to The Call. I'm Melina Abdullah. The Call is a show like no other. The Call is meant to be an engagement. It's grounded in the African tradition of call and response. So rather than putting ideas out for you to process, it's meant for us to be in conversation, virtual conversation with one another. The Call is also a calling out of injustice, of systems of oppression, and of policies that are meant to keep those in power and meant to keep those of us without power disadvantaged. The Call is a calling forth. It's calling for a radical imagining of a new world, of a way in which we can all live and walk in the world in which we want to live. And finally, the Call is a call to action. We know that by taking tangible steps, we can begin to shift power. We can liberate folks from injustice. We can bring forth freedom for Black people and, by extension, all people. Welcome to The Call. I'm Melina Abdullah. On this episode of The Call, we're going to be talking about gun violence, gun safety, and gun control. But we're going to be talking about it from the complicated perspective of Black folks. I was recently fortunate enough to travel with a group of young people from March for Our Lives and the Black Lives Matter Youth Vanguard to attend a presidential forum, a presidential candidates forum on gun safety. At that forum, we had a really important conversation about how gun safety disproportionately impacts Black communities, but also what gun violence means at the hands of police. So I want to tell my own story. I recently came to terms with the fact, as a Black mother and as a Black activist, I absolutely have to rely on myself for my own self-defense. And so it's really kind of hearkening back to this reality that African people have had since we arrived in this country, right? The truth that self-defense is important to our survival and our freedom. So when we think about groups like the Deacons for Defense or leaders like Robert F. Williams, or the stance that organizations like the Black Panther Party took, in Black self-defense, that's something that we cannot afford to abandon now. As a Black activist, I came to terms with the truth that Black people can't afford to call police for help. I also want us to think about a complication around police violence being gun violence. It's something that the Black Lives Matter Youth Vanguard has been lifting up for the last 2.5 years after the Parkland shooting, right? They've been talking about police violence is absolutely gun violence. We were encouraged to hear candidate Julian Castro reiterate those words. But we're also sorrowful about why he had to reiterate those words. He was speaking about Atatiana Jefferson. All of you will remember and should say her name frequently. Atatiana Jefferson was in her own home playing video games with her 8-year-old nephew when a neighbor, a Black neighbor, saw that her door was ajar. And moving from the best sense of neighborly love, he thought he could call police for a wellness check. But he forgot that police don't see us as people that need protection. They see us with targets. And so the police showed up in Fort Worth, Texas, peered through the window of Atatiana Jefferson and shot her dead in front of her 8-year-old nephew. The truth is, we can't afford to call police on Black people or even for Black people because police see us with targets. And so as we talk about gun violence, gun safety, and gun control, let's think about it in the nuanced, complicated ways it applies to Black folks. That's coming up on The Call.